Let's first understand the man behind it. Mudhar Tamim was born in 1960 and grew from a lineage of royalty and religious preachers. His life was incredibly dynamic. He synthesized modern, traditional Islamic, and military education. Throughout his life, he served in many roles as a freedom fighter, making national figures like Sukarno, a religious registrar, and government official, and a politician serving in the regional House of Representatives until the late 1980s. In 1969, at the age of 53, he began writing the Quranic exegesis or tafsir, specifically in Najurist language, aimed directly at his local community. When the first volume of Tafsir Nurul was published, it received overwhelming praise from the state. At the time, Indonesia was entering the New Order regime under President Suharto, a period marked by authoritarian rule, and a heavy focus on national development, known as Repelita. State officials strongly endorsed Tafsir Nurul Huda as an essential tool for mental and religious development. They granted it powerful legitimacy because they saw it as directly supporting the New Order's Repelita and Pancasila values to counter moral degradation. The early editions even included official preface and greetings from regional officials like the governor of East Java and the region of Pamekasan. This brings us to a fascinating analytical framework proposed by Islam Gusmian in his dissertation on Quranic exegesis and power in Indonesia. Gusmian categorizes exegesis during the New Order era into three perspectives. First, the silence exegesis, which alienates itself from the political space. Second, the lipstick exegesis, which actively affirms and legitimizes the political practice in the New Order regime. And the third, the critical exegesis, which uses interpretation as a strategy for socio-political critique. The core question of our research is which perspective does Tafsir Nurul Huda fall under? Is it the silent, the lipstick, or the critical exegesis? On the surface, with all its state endorsement, it appears to be a perfect example of a lipstick exegesis. But as we dig deeper into the text, a paradox emerges. Mudhar Tamim deeply contextualized his exegesis with both modern sciences and Indonesian realities. On the scientific front, he integrated modern insight, citing solar technology in America, Germany, Japan, and astronauts exploring the moon to demonstrate God's mastery over nature. However, he emphasized that human reason alone is relied upon by philosophers like Aristotle and Ibn Rushd is insufficient to find the ultimate truth without divine revelation. Economically and politically, he connected the Quran into the daily lives of Indonesians. He explicitly converted the zakat nisab, the minimum wealth for charitable taxation, into Indonesian rupiah. Furthermore, he fiercely condemned the hypocrisy of the Indonesian Communist Party or PKI. This anti-communist stance perfectly mirrored the government's action following the tragic event of 1965. So far, this still sounds like he is aligned with the state. But here is where the invisible word of his resistance comes to light. Despite his apparent alignment with the government, Mudhar Tamim used his exegesis to make bold subversive claims. He asserted that the Quran must serve as the absolute foundation of the state. He vehemently rejected the continuity of Dutch colonial laws in independent Indonesia, viewing it as a betrayal of independence. More strikingly, he explicitly attacked the separation of religion and state, referring to the Dutch concept of scheiding kerk en staat as a hypocrisy against the true Islamic faith. In a secular-leaning authoritarian regime that sought to strictly control political Islam, this was a highly critical and dangerous stance to take. Tamim's most powerful critic is found in his interpretation of the Quranic concept of Caliph. He didn't interpret the Caliph as a divine, untouchable king. Instead, he interpreted the Caliph as an earthly leader who is entirely subject to democratic social control. He urged citizens to actively monitor the government and hold leaders accountable. He fiercely condemned absolute monarchies and dictatorships, irresponsible leadership, and blind obedience to personality cults. Through the safe medium of a local language exegesis, Tamim was subtly educating the Madras grassroots to question authoritarianism and demand democratic accountability from the new order regime. As the years passed and the political climate shifted, the physical text of Tafsir Nurul Huda also changed. In later edition, the mentions of Repelita and Radio Hansip Corporation and the various official prefaces from the state officials were completely removed, so no longer preface and other. This brings us to our conclusion. The paradox of Tafsir Nurul Huda is a brilliant masterclass in political survival and hidden resistance. Although it initially borrowed the identity of a lipstick exegesis to affirm the new order regime and secure its own publication and legitimacy, its substantive core proves otherwise. The removal of pro-government attributes in later editions, combined with its strong demands for democratic accountability and its opposition to authoritarian rule, prove that Tafsir Nurul Huda is fundamentally a critical exegesis. Mudhar Tamim expertly used the state-owned developmental agenda as a shield to deliver a localized, potent critique of dictatorship. Through this text, we uncover a lesser told story from Madura, a story that proves the invisible world of Southeast Asia are full of complex agency, shrewd negotiation, and brilliant socio-political resistance. Okay, thank you for listening. I look forward for your question and to discussing this with my colleagues, Sofyan and Fadel, during Q&A session.